We're gonna. Yeah,
I'm gonna continue my.
Just roll it.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue my story. Yeah. So basically, I want to continue the night. We get in. We wait for an Uber. The Uber comes. The lady's like, "You have to go to the Hut. The Hut's the best place in Tucson. It's where everybody goes after games." So we ended up going. And the second we walked into the Hut, I was like, I am tired. Like literally the second we got in, I was like, yeah, this whole extending the night thing. Good luck to me. I am tired. Like this is gonna be a long night. So I tried to make the most of it, and then we ended up like sitting down at like this back bar, and I was just like, yeah, Jeramey, I'm good. Jeramey was over it. Jeramey was over it the second we like got into the Uber. But I was just like, no, we can do it. We can do it. And I was like, no. And then on our way back
to mention.
Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, not to mention when we were at the gas station and Albert comes out with 2 beers in hand while we wait for the Uber. He's like, all right. And I was like, awesome. And then the Uber shows up before we're done. So we just get in with the beers.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
So I was ready. I was ready. And then I wasn't. Like it was just as quickly as that. I was ready and then I wasn't. And I felt for my man at the bar. It was a black guy with his white girlfriend, and he was jamming out to Katy Perry. And I was like, man, I respect it because you do not care for this song. I was like, you don't like the song. I know you don't like this song, but I respect it. Hey, I've been there. We're talking to his friend. His friend was like, hey, man. But anyway, yeah. So we go, and on our way back to the hotel, I was like, I feel like I should get the early flight. I didn't want to stay there till 7. So like, I was like, I feel like I should get the early flight. And the early flight was at 6:30. And I was like, I really regret trying to extend the night. So like, I literally went to sleep.
It was 1:30.
Yeah, it was. I went to sleep at 3. I had to wake up at 6. No, I had to wake up at 5:30 to get there by 6. But I made it. I don't know how, but I made it.
Impressive. Wow. Sheer force of will.
He tried to turn the hands of time back. After that, you get the clout from Texas Tech's football main page, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna run with this all night.
Let's do it. I'm gonna ride it.
He's the face of football right now.
You know what made it worse, Jeramey, is that on my plane, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get some sleep on the plane, right? The woman wanted to talk to me the whole time. And she was so sweet, such a sweet lady. But I was like, oh.
You're like, lady.
A little sweet woman.
Let me tell you.
You're very sweet. Any other time, maybe. I just want to sleep. But no, I talked to her. I was like,
dude, I had to fly to Denver and then have a layover and then come back to Houston or to Lubbock. And I was, like I said, I was good after I got into the airport. And I thought I was cool and kosher. And then we take off. And there was a lot of turbulence at the front end of that. And I was like, please don't be the guy to throw up on an airplane. Please do not be the guy to throw up on an airplane. I will never travel by air again. Oh, my God. So when they came around with the drink orders, it was all like ginger ale as fast as possible. Please.
Please. Quickly. But they have barf bags, though.
Yeah.
Dude, the beauty of
a popcorn bag.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing about like throwing up on an airplane, I've never done it, but I will say people don't. It's one of the few places where they don't assume you're drunk. They assume you're like,
I'm nervous to fly.
You don't like to fly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's one of the few places. Everywhere else, they'd be like, look at this drunk idiot. But like that's one where you're like, oh man, he doesn't like flying. You can be like, oh.
Have y'all ever seen that though?
Oh my God.
I haven't.
Did you tell him about the Arizona kid?
I did tell him about the Arizona kid, yeah.
Somebody throwing up on a plane?
Yeah, I've seen that.
No, I've seen someone throwing up on a plane before. Yeah, I've seen that. It's not common, but some people are just like terrified to fly. Yeah, I've seen it.
Just didn't know what the protocol of disposal
the Arizona
bag is after the fact.
You throw them out the back. You throw them at the back.
You just
the throw up. I don't know.
No, you gotta get you got to give it to the flight attendant.
You're in the middle of like a 4-hour flight. Like can you pass this over?
Yeah.
He did.
What is this? Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions.
It's my breakfast. It's my breakfast. It's breakfast.
Oh shit, that's funny.
Yeah. Jeez. Great. Good times. Good times. Is this our best win since Oklahoma 2 years ago? Probably. It's a better win than any game last year for sure. So probably since Oklahoma.
Well, being a road game, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of extra clout for that. But it's more so because of how infamously bad you are on the road. Now, if Arizona turns around and whips BYU, then I'm like, we may have something special here. We'll see.
Maybe I'm still not sure BYU is that good, to be honest. Iowa State's the only team that I Utah with Cam Rising I believe in, if he ever gets back healthy.
Yeah.
I still kind of believe in K-State. Like I still think they're not a bad team. They just had a bad game, even though they did get mollywopped by BYU. And then Iowa State's the only team I really believe in. Like I think they're a good team. Like no qualifiers. But BYU, I'm kind of like, So, is my camera as laggy as everybody as I look?
Yes.
Very much so.
Use your other camera.
That's not.
Or I do have another background.
Right?
I don't know.
Camera one ready.
Oh, I bet you that's what it is. I bet you it's the virtual background. Let me turn off the blur.
Oh, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah. All right. Yep. No virtual background. Okay, that's fine. All right. Y'all ready?
You bet.
Yes, sir.
For once in my life.
All right. Welcome one and welcome all to the Tortillas and Takes podcast. You are on once again with your boy, Albie Shore, and you can see us. You can see all of us. It's like the Brady Bunch, but not a husband and wife with 6 kids and a nanny. It's just 3 guys. Just 3 guys here. Going on video for the first time. So if you're listening to this on your headset like you usually do, also go to YouTube. See us actually talk live and in person on YouTube. Make sure to do that. And so when I say we, I mean, of course, my co-host here. So starting off with the guy I made it out to Tucson, Arizona with, that is Jeramey, the People Champ, Jeramey Gillen. What's up, Jeramey?
I'm alive. You know, there was parts of it I didn't feel like I'd make it, but I'm alive. What an experience Tucson, Arizona had. We saw a lot. They had the Meet Yourself Tucson, which is a ridiculous name for a festival, but it was pretty cool. A lot of tight stuff going on. Birthplace of the chimichanga. Went to El Charro. Had probably one of the best tacos I've ever had in my life.
That was
for no
really
reason.
good. No facts.
I got a picture of Albert scoffing that thing down. It'll make it to the internet eventually. And I was harassed by an SMU fan for some reason in the middle of Tucson. So that was weird. Hey, you remember that guy?
What's the line?
What's
the line?
The Arizona kid? Had a drunk Arizona guy continue to ask me, what's the line for tonight? Dead seriously, couldn't remember it because he was so hammered. Ended up throwing up over me. Is what it is. But overall, pretty good time. Oh, and of course, we made front page on Texas Tech social media, as everyone is aware. So, pretty good trip.
Good stuff. Also with us is the Red Reddit expert himself, Joe Lopez. What's going on, Joe?
Gentlemen, glad to see both of you guys survived Tucson and the heat and, trying to turn back the hands of time and go back to your mid-20s again. And, according to some of the stories pre-pod, it looks like y'all are still struggling 48 hours later. So
I'm still hammering electrolytes. I'm trying to come back.
Yeah, but man, it's good stuff, and hey, big win on the road, a lot to talk about. But yeah, this team going into the bye week 5-1, like everybody predicted, right?
That's
well,
that's right. That's right.
In a weird way, kind of.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, good. God,
In a very weird way.
Before we get to the game, actually, no, you two actually, I think, did. I know, Jeramey, you did predict 5-1 at this moment. Joe, I can't remember if you predicted 5-1 or 6-0 by the time we got here.
Had to be 6-0.
I know I predicted. Well, I predicted 4-2. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna hold you. I thought and up until this game, I was spot on with each game. This was definitely the game that I thought we would lose to go to 4-2 as we went into the bye at the beginning of the year. And all my predictions up to that point had been consistent to that point, that we would go 4-2 here. And so this is the first time I was like, oh, wow, a win, a surprising win. Texas Tech wins at Arizona 28-22. But of course, it's not Texas Tech without it. It wouldn't be easy, right? It's going to be difficult. Tech made it difficult when it thought it could be a blowout. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Before we get there, I do want to set the scene. Like I mentioned before, Jeramey and I were in Tucson, Arizona, representing Texas Tech in our road game of the year. Was a good time. So a few comments about it. So first of all, and I talk about this all the time. There are every city in the Big 12, right? Everybody in the Big 12 has collectively come together and said Lubbock is the worst college town in the Big 12, right? Everybody does this. And it pisses me off to high hell, mostly because, right, Lubbock has its faults. I'm not going to act like Lubbock's a perfect city, right? But if you are in Austin, if you're in Fort Worth, if you're in Salt Lake City, if you're in Houston, that's not college towns. You're out of the ranking. Get away from here. You can live in a city all you want. I agree that those are better cities that I would want to live in. I'm not going to lie to you. I would not want to go to college in a city. I want to go to college in a college town. So you're out of the running. Every other college town, y'all all stink. We all stink. We're all in this stink bed together. No, very few college towns are worth living in. All right. And so I go to Tucson. I land in Tucson, and I'm like, oh, this is Lubbock with a skyline. It's the same. It's the same. Like this is it's flatlands, very few tall buildings, hot. It is the same. You just have a mountainous skyline. It is this. I was like, what are we doing here? Actually, the difference is it was wildly hot in October. Lubbock's not like this in October. So I'm like, yeah, it was Joe. It was ridiculous. So that was my whole thing. Remember, I went back. Funny enough, real quick to conclude this rant about Tucson. I went home. I was telling my sister. And my sister's over here like, oh, I have a friend that goes to grad school in Arizona. And I said, I was like, yeah, it's like Lubbock. She was like, oh, no. Oh, no, I'd rather go to Tucson. I'm like, have you ever been to Tucson? It's like, no. It's like, when's the last time you've been to Lubbock? When you graduated. So you don't know. What are you talking about? All these, I've been to Morgantown, been to Stillwater, been to all these other schools. Lubbock, if anything, out of Tucson, Morgantown, Stillwater, Lubbock's the best out of those three. Out of those four schools, I'll tell you that much. I got more to go to. I have been to Boulder. We're not talking about them right now because I do think it's better. But outside of Boulder, those like most schools in the Big 12 is okay. Morgantown's better because I can look at mountains. I'm not going to hike them. What does it matter? Anyways, I'm tired of all this. I go into Tucson. I'm like, this city stinks. This is the second biggest city in Arizona. Get out of here. Anyways. Get off my high horse. But the time there was, like Jeramey was mentioning, it was a good time. Leading up, another high horse rant. The tailgating was big. There was a lot of tents, a lot of Wildcat fans. It was tame though. It wasn't raucous. Wasn't it was fine. They're very polite people. I will say that. The Arizona faithful, very nice, very welcoming.
Cool.
Which made it boring. Made it boring. Talk mess to me. Say how we're gonna kick your ass. At least those Arizona kids that didn't know any better. The one that was wildly drunk, asking Jeramey what the line was. At least he was ready to talk some mess. Like he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna kick your ass by 50." And his friends were like, "Relax, dude. We kind of stink." But he was like, "No." He was like, "Who do you even have that goes to Texas Tech? Nobody's ever been there." They were like, "Mahomes." He was like, he asked somebody, "Mahomes went to Tech?" Oh, well, who else do you have going over there? Crabtree. He said, "Who?" I was like, "Oh, children." Oh, children. Good times. Raising up the youth. of Arizona, the Arizona youths. So that was kind of our entrance before going in to the Tucson game. Great ticket. Shout out to Jeramey. We're sitting, and actually where we were sitting was full of Red Raider Nation. Red Raider Nation came out to Arizona. So much so we shut before the game, one of the bars, the system shut down. Like, I guess, I don't know if they're not used to that amount of people or what, but the system completely shut down at this like fairly popular restaurant and bar across from the stadium. System completely shut down. So we migrate from this restaurant. All of Red Raider Nation migrates from that restaurant bar over to the stadium. We're loud. We're proud. I heard that you could hear Raider power through the system, which was awesome. And in the first quarter, we had a lot to cheer about. So as we kind of start the game here, looking at it, right? So starting off the game, little dull, back-to-back punts, right? Both teams just a bunch of 3-and-outs, not really getting going. But then Texas Tech in the first quarter has a nice drive that really is highlighted by a guy that we ain't heard much of. Before this, only had 5 catches on the year, but Micah Hudson. And it was funny, before that play, I told Jeramey, I'm like, hold on, number 1's in the game. Let's line up on the X. Let's see what happens here. And sure enough, I didn't get to see the move. I know, Joe, you said the move was nasty, was live, but breaks a guy off on the route. I saw it in the recap. Breaks a guy off on the route, gets in the middle there for a nice 38-yard gain. It gets to the 3-yard line. Joe, what was your view from the TV there?
Well, the initial view was I had him smoked from the line. They were playing off him about 10 yards, so he wasn't jammed on the line. And then whenever he went and made that post move, he had the safety twisting and turning, had his back to him, and then it was ultimately, doing what you would expect a 5-star wide receiver to do, just go out there and make a play when given the opportunity. So, and then whenever they went back to show the replays and stuff, that kid didn't stand a chance. And there's some other plays like that. If you go back to the North Texas game where Micah Hudson made some of these similar kinds of moves to some of these cornerbacks, safeties. So I think, he's slowly working his way into the fold. And, I don't know if you guys know this stat, but Tech's 2-0 when he has 35 yards or more receiving. What? So,
there's something.
Yeah. It was actually really cool to watch him. I think if that's a little bit better pass, I think he outran the ball and he had to come back and make a play. If that's a little bit better pass, I think he's getting his first TD there.
Oh, easily, absolutely. And luckily, Taj Brooks was able to run it in right afterwards. I will say, so one. Big mistake by Arizona not jamming him. If you got a true freshman who's a little thin, right? Like Micah's not a big guy. He's a little undersized for the position. So if you got that 18-year-old, you gotta muscle him up. You gotta really beat him up at the line. And until he gets the physicality in him. And so to just leave him off, you allowed him to be right in his bag there, and he was able to get in his bag. I will say we've been up until that play. We've been talking about how Micah, me personally, I still don't think that Micah not playing too much is a huge deal. But we've been talking about how the times that Micah has played has been gimmicky. And he still motioned on that play, still motioned over to that X spot, but it's been really gimmicky. And that time, finally, a time you just let him be a receiver. He motions over to the side. He's on the outside, one-on-one, and you just let him be a receiver. The safety ended up coming down on the other end to protect for the double that was on the other side. Right, thinking that I got to watch out for Douglas and I think it was Douglas and Eakin on one side. So he said, look, I got to watch out for these two guys. So I can leave my corner on this number. I don't even know who that is. And then sure enough, he breaks him off. Just let him be a receiver. Jeramey, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, a fantastic drive after, like we all predicted, the back-to-back defensive stands, back-to-back defensive stands. Everybody was predicting it. Everybody's expecting it. Just slinging together kind of the few and chunk. I will say, receiving chunk plays made this game for Morton, and so seeing Hudson be a part of that was great. Like Joe, would have loved to see Morton hit him a little bit in the chest because that was a touchdown if he didn't have to jump up for that.
Walking.
But yeah, honestly, being able to capitalize on that, and you just had a huge pass play. What do? You run. Loved it. Let me tell you what, there was 3 times in this game I said, just give the ball to Taj and 3 times in the game he got a touchdown after I said that. But I think that, that was a great start. And it was momentum setting because it forced Arizona to recognize that they're going to have to play a little bit more competent of a defense because Texas Tech's got some weapons and not just the people that they were watching on tape.
So Arizona was able to get somewhat in the game a little bit right after that touchdown, had a nice drive that went all the way, but all the way to the 27. But the defense with a good third down stop there, keeping Risicano, just holding him up. I mean, the run game for Arizona, really all game from here, didn't really ever get going. And in this one, starts it off by holding him to a field goal. And then even after a 3 and out, once again, another opportunity there. 3rd and 1, they get Fafita where he can't go anywhere. And then 4th and 1, they try to give it to Conley, their actual starting running back. And he, again, goes nowhere. They stop him again on the 20. So huge work there, back-to-back situations where the defense's backs were against the wall and they were able to stop it. And this time, though, and I'll say this, though the defense or the offense wasn't able to get a score right after that, they flipped the field a little bit, take it down, have a 7-play drive, gets it down to about the midfield mark. And then when Fafita gets the ball, defense once again comes through with that Quincy Leday interception. That interception was a beauty. I played DN before, and if only I could have gotten an interception and then a hurdle. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Quincy Leday's grandkids, his great-grandkids, will know about this play. Okay? An interception and a hurdle, yeah, you'll never hear the end of it. Hey, he'll be at the ball. He's going to be at Chimmy's probably this weekend or next weekend. I'm going to be like, hey, girl, not only when I got the interception, you see what I'm saying? I came and the guy came up to me and I was like, man, I can jump over you. It's no problem. I can do that. That's going to be him. I respect it. So, Jeramey, what do you think about that? Just the defensive stands there. I mean, twice back against the wall, forcing a field goal and then forcing a turnover on downs, which take one. And then also, then you get the interception by Quincy Leday. Quincy Leday Jr. just absolutely great. Take 2 great jobs by the defense there in this first half.
Yeah, Arizona, it did not look like echoes of the team that played against Utah. Utah's got a good defense. Arizona was firing on all cylinders that game. And I think that something that they may have expected is to just do the same to Texas Tech. But DeRuyter, and we talked about it in the preview pod, DeRuyter needed to adjust the play style for this game, needed to adjust the scheme in order to minimize Fafita's just efficiency. And I think the beautiful thing was that most of Fafita's best passes were when the plays got extended because there wasn't enough pressure. And then somebody, usually T-Mac, was could get open and it's okay, just toss it down there. Right. But I mean, props to DeRuyter for drawing up these linebacker stunts, these, keeping cornerbacks off their receivers to really kind of give this false buffer for Fafita. Okay, I can probably hit him, but then all of a sudden, that's the beautiful thing about zone is that things will seem like they're there first, but then they're gone. So if the play doesn't extend, they don't come back. And so I think DeRuyter did an amazing job scheming against Fafita in this offense. And the run defense alone, people that don't watch Texas Tech football are going to jank on how bad this defense is. But this defense has made leaps and bounds in every game. They've gotten better. Now, the Cincinnati game, again, they were able to rack up a lot of yardage and get a lot of points. But props to their offense and props to them for having an absolute baller in Sorsby. But outside of that, both Arizona schools had a really hard time with this defense. DeRuyter has done an excellent job scheming against offensive teams with good offenses. And so I was thoroughly impressed whenever at the half, they only had 3 points. 3 points and a half. You're not talking about Texas Tech defense, are you? Yes. Yes, we are.
Yep.
We are.
Well, I think what
ended up injured Texas Tech defense. Know that.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point because the secondary and it was, the secondary truly that was depleted, right? We were able to get Braylon Lux back in this game, who I think did do an okay job. Second half kind of was getting beat a little bit, but we'll get into that here some. But I think he did an okay job. I think the secondary did a decent job. But I think mostly, and the biggest difference, if you ask me, between this game and the game against Cincinnati is we got pressure. Last game, we kept trying to rush with 4, and it just wasn't working. That's a big reason why Sorsby was tearing us up like crazy. You talked about the stunts, right? J-Rod off the edge. Good luck. I mean, he had a killer game, right? He had an absolute killer game with his hurries, his having Fafita second guess himself, and especially in that first half, it was nuts. And so right after that interception by Lede, the field, you're already in field goal range. You're able to make some things work. Martin has a nice pass, to Josh Kelly that gets them right in at the 10-yard line, and then it's Taj time. Taj Brooks runs it in. Nice little move on third down, gets it into the end zone. That's 2 touchdowns on the game for him. We're feeling good. But here's the thing. We're feeling good. It's about a minute left in the half. This should be halftime, 15-3. Just hold Arizona a little bit, right? But Arizona, Fafita starts moving. T-Mac at this point hadn't really done much until the 17-yard pass gets him to about midfield. All of a sudden, Arizona's thinking maybe, just maybe we can make something happen. Then you get a pass interference call on Braylon Lux, right? That gets them. Now it's Arizona's like, oh, we might be able to get some points before half. Let me chuck it into the end zone. Let me get this. Oh, wait, miscommunication, but it's okay. It's going to go out of bounds. Wait, who's number 9 again? CJ Baskerville. Great. Let me tell you something about Baskerville. Listen, last year we had a love-hate relationship. Very much love-hate relationship. He's talked about him last year quite a bit. This year, no words, right? He has had a great season. This game was a compliment of it. Great interception there in the corner of the end zone right there to get the ball back. And then all of a sudden we have a chance to get points. Joe, with 30 seconds to go, let me ask you this question. 30 seconds to go. You're the head coach. You're Joey McGuire. What do you do in this situation? Do you just kneel and go into halftime, or do you do a deep shot to Caleb Douglas on the sideline?
I think you at least take one single shot. You had timeouts with you. You had something in your back pocket. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, just don't put yourself in a position where you give the ball back to them on our side of the field. But that was probably one of Barron's better passes in the game, right over to
of the season. Of the season, I thought it was an incredible pass. Like it's of the season.
Do you think that's the better pass in North Texas? Coy Eakin on the sideline.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I do. Here's the thing.
I mean, I'm not taking away from
both great. Yeah, both great passes. I love the Coy Eakin pass. The only reason I give him a little bit more credit on this pass is because not only did he put it over the corner, he put it also in a window because he had the safety coming over as well. Hit Caleb in stride, similar to the Coy Eakin pass. And if Caleb's a little faster, it's a touchdown. It's an 82-yard touchdown or 88-yard touchdown. I mean, and so I think that was one of the best passes of his career. I thought it was an incredible pass, and it was a effort we ball type of pass, right? Like that was a great.
That was a pure confidence. I mean, he looked poised. He made that throw. I mean, his feet weren't,
while getting hit, while getting smacked in the chest. Yeah, no, incredible throw, incredible pitch, incredible catch. 57 yards down the sideline. All of a sudden, Texan position to possibly get some points. Right after that, another pass to Caleb Douglas that gets us down to the 12. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. 2 seconds to go, I was like, we could. I thought Joey might, but he was like, let's take some points. But I respect that. He was like, let's not get crazy. Let's take some points. A smart move also by Caleb Douglas when he was caught the ball over the middle to quickly, knowing we had a timeout left, to quickly slide down with 2 seconds. I think that was very smart. Don't fight for the yards. You know how much time we have left. Go ahead and slide. Call it a day. Let's get up and get these points. A veteran move by Caleb Douglas there. And just like that, it's 18-3 at halftime after the Gino Garcia field goal. It's all good in the neighborhood. Best half of the season, if you ask me. Well, I guess let me take that back. I mean, we set records against UNT. I know it's UNT. We set records against UNT. So I won't say best half of the season. But second best half of the season, really incredible half on the road in Tucson against a team that was projected at the beginning of the year to be one of the best teams in the Big 12. Still a very talented team. Still a team with a talented quarterback. Still a team with one of the best receivers in the country. Jeramey, what were your thoughts at halftime, up 15?
What the hell is happening? Just stunned, dude. And the Arizona fans around us were stunned, right? And I just think that everybody was just, nobody predicted it for it to be that low scoring in the first half. Nobody. Like what was the over under? We're getting close to like 60 or something. Like there was a substantial amount of points left on the board. So for it to be 18-3 at the half, like baffled that Fafita and T-Mac were not able to, although I will say, like, it felt like they were starting to connect, and then the miscommunication, and then it was like, oh, no harm, no foul, except CJ Baskerville like ran his little heart out, got over there and got the interception. So what momentum they were starting to build, just one little miscommunication, and it threw it all off. Like they had to start back over. It wasn't like, we'll be good, let's keep it going. No, Texas Tech took the momentum and then used it for our own good. And so having that interception turn around made into points, that is something that Texas Tech has had a hard time doing with McGuire here, right? We're like, okay, take 3. And the take 3 thing was hard enough on its own. But, when we did it, and we did it well, was when we converted turnovers into points. Being able to convert turnovers into points, complementary football, as he said, like, that is when we shine. And so the fact that we were doing that we had to take 3 in the first half and we turned them into points, huge. And not only that, the fact that, because I like you, Albert, I thought Joey may just try for the end zone here since we just had so much luck on this drive. The fact that he took the field goal was huge for me. I thought, this is a guy who just wants to win. And he knows that I'm going to trust my kicker who has not missed this season and take the 3 points instead of just trying to like showboat and like get, 7 or whatever, even though we, went for 2, what was it? We went for 2, the touchdown before. We went for swinging gate. I was like, what are we doing? Just like, you know what? F it. But
I will say real quick on the, so a lot of the times when teams use swinging gate, because I watched it on the replay when I watched it. A lot of times teams do swinging gate. We've been doing it the last couple games, and then going back to our formation. If you start off until you see, when you see something you like, you just do it. A lot of the times there's a call, there's a play of, hey, if you see this, run it. And I think they saw a favorable matchup in that swing gate, and it worked. You got the 2 points, right? And so it's just one of those things. Sometimes you see it with a punter, right, where they tell the punter, hey, if they just take off, you take off and get the first down in certain situations. So I think that's what happened. I think it was less of a Joey call and more of the power, you give a little bit more credence to your special teams unit and say, if you see this, go for it. And I think they saw a favorable matchup and were able to get that 2-point conversion. So, it worked. The problem with the swing gate is if you do that and it doesn't work, then you just everybody looks stupid, but it worked.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think he diagnosed that pretty quick because he went straight for it. I mean, that was a kill shot, so to speak. So,
yeah, absolutely. Joe, what were your thoughts at halftime?
Thoughts were good. Playing the best defensive ball, with the exception to the North Texas game, obviously. But I mean, you have guys going in and out. You have your linebacking group, and this is just besides Ben Roberts and Jacob Rodriguez. Hell, Dingle was in there. Bryce Ramirez was in there. John Curry was in there. All these guys were flying around.
Bryce Ramirez had a game. I was like, okay. Bryce Ramirez really played very well in this game. Absolutely. Bryce Ramirez was great. Curry was really good as well.
Yeah, I think this is the deepest linebacking group that we've had in a while, and they're all fairly young, with the exception to Jacob Rodriguez and Bryce Ramirez. But not trying to look too far ahead, but you have a John Curry, a Ben Roberts, a Dingle in there. You start throwing Justin Horn in there, and then you start having yourself an elite group of middle linebackers for the years to come. So just watching that group do what they did. Those twists and stunts on the blitzes, they made Fafita uncomfortable the entire game. The speed of our linebackers, I believe, caught some of them off guard because I don't think McMillan at any point this season has been caught from a linebacker from behind, which we'll get into that punch out later on. But, just things like that, just the sheer effort of our linebacking group, I think propelled this defense to take a massive step moving forward into the bye week for sure.
All right, guys. So it's time to talk about where Texas Tech, where typical Tech road is its head a little bit. Let's get into the second half, right? So it's 18-3 at halftime. We're all feeling good. We're feeling rosy. Defense forces a 3-and-out to start the second half, and I ain't gonna lie. At that point, I'm like, we got them. We got them. Like they can't do nothing right now, right? But we gave them a 3-and-out back, and from there, Fafita started getting some confidence. Nice little pass over to Burnett, right? Nice little swing pass over to Connolly there to get a third down conversion. And though he had a few incompletions, was able to get to a field goal. Our defense once again forces a field goal. You're like, okay, no big deal. Here's where I started to feel the game slip a little bit. Taj never fumbles. He's had one fumble all year? Like he doesn't fumble. Okay, on the second play of the drive, he fumbles. It was a kind of weird fumble, kept it in Arizona side of the field. That's unlike him, but whatever, dust it off, call it a day. Defense once again holds them to another field goal. Like, no harm, no foul. It's 18-9. We're still up 2 possessions. We'll be all right. But then there's a 3-and-out by the offense. So the offense to start the second half, it's punt, fumble, punt. They have not gotten a first down yet. Now all of a sudden momentum's on Arizona's side. They go all the way down, big play to McMillan for 40 yards to get them down to the 15-yard line. Then right after that, Reese Cano goes in for 11 yards, and the inevitable happens eventually. Or they force them to a 4th and 1, but the inevitable happens eventually when Reese Cano goes in for the touchdown. And just like that, Reese Cano gets the first down, and then Connolly goes for a touchdown. And just like that, it's a 2-point game. And you're saying, hold on a second. This is being really weird, but it's okay. Dust yourself off. We're still in the lead. We're good. And then Taj fumbles again. What the hell's going on, Joe? What the hell is going on? Punt, fumble, and it's only a 2-point game now. And you can't even blame the defense because they've been on the field the entire second half to this point.
Yeah, and then you get, these quick, short drives, and now the defense in a very hot – I mean, you guys were pretty close to the field. I mean, how hot was it around middle of the third quarter, like 95 degrees still down there? I mean,
listen, by the third quarter, I couldn't tell you, buddy.
Oh.
No, it was honestly, it's dry heat, so it was oddly in the evening felt a little bit more humid than I was expecting, but it was fine. It was by that point, it's like in the 80s. It was fine at that point on the field. Yeah, but either way, I mean, you are on the entire second half or third quarter. You have the offense has been on the play they've had 4 drives that have totaled 11 plays.
Yep.
4 drives, 11 plays, all of the third quarter. And every other play has been on the defense. The defense has been on, defense has been on. Now it's only a 2-point game. Todd has fumbled twice, doubled his fumble number for the entire season. And sure enough, you're back on the field once again, beginning of the fourth quarter. Arizona is able to march the defense down again. You force another 4th down, right? Funny enough, quick aside, it's 4th and 1. The entire crowd is yelling for them to go for it. And I'm like, y'all, please listen to your crowd.
Yeah.
Trying to take the lead is obviously overrated to them. Go for it. See what happens.
Go for it.
Because no smart coach in America goes for it with a chance to get the lead. People be talking about him like he talked about Sean McDermott after blowing the Bills game. But sure enough, they get the field goal. Now we're losing just like that. We're up 18-3 at halftime. And 20 minutes later, we are now losing. Jeramey, sober thoughts. What was going on for you then?
I said, I have seen this before. I got too confident that we were doing good on the road. Something had to go wrong. And for me, man, I was watching them rack up points, even death by field goals. I was like, it stuns me that we haven't scored a singular point, even a field goal, since the half. Like, what's going on? What's missed? I just do not understand what fundamentally they changed that was locking us down so much. But we really weren't running the ball very much at that point. It was like, let's just try to gash some more. And I thought, what a stupid thing to do. You have one of the best running backs. Implement that into your running. And yeah, he fumbled twice, right? But like, implement that, right? I'm not upset with Taj fumbling. Running backs will fumble, right? I think that he's probably not going to fumble the rest of the season because of those. He's that kind of running back, and he may get like one more fumble in there, but like, he's not somebody who's going to repeat those mistakes. A lot of people got on Taj for fumbling. I'm like, look, man, he's still going to be one of the best running backs in Texas Tech history. So like, get off him. But there was a lot wrong with, I think, play selection in terms of passing, and Morton's execution really started to take a slump there. And my bet is because we really started to get away from the run. So in Arizona, didn't really like, for some reason, Arizona wasn't pressuring as much. They didn't need to, because Morton was like way too in his head. And for Arizona starting to get that momentum back, that's where I got the most scared. Because for me, I've watched Texas Tech too many times lose momentum in a game and be unable to weather the storm. The thing that, like, I think that we've gotten used to with basketball, game of runs. Like, we've seen our basketball team get punched in the mouth and then come back and then win games a lot. We have not had the same luxury with Texas Tech football. And so for me, I'm like watching this happen. I think, T-Mac and Fafita, it's about to be a road show for them. They're going to have some crazy highlight winning play, and like, that's it. And I kept telling the guy behind me, it's this many minutes left. You guys are fine. It's this many minutes left. You guys are fine. Dude, even when it was 2 minutes left before that last spectacular play happened, I said, you have more than enough time to win. I wouldn't be stressed out yet. Don't leave. Don't leave. You may be upset. But that's just, that's what this team has conditioned me to do, especially on the road.
Yeah, so I'll say this. To your point, I think early in the second half, they tried to run it with Taj a little bit. He had 2 fumbles. He had that first drive, didn't really go for anything. We definitely abandoned the run there with a couple of those drives. One of the 3 and outs was pass, punt. And I think we actually had 2 drives there in the second half that was pass, punt, right? And when I say pass, I mean incomplete punt, because nothing was really working there. I will say this, though, where I do disagree with you, Jeramey. I think it's okay to criticize Taj. I do. Right? 2 fumbles in a game was a lot. I get it. He is going to go down as one of the best. He's already one of the best running backs in Texas Tech history. May end up going down as he'll hopefully break the record this year, which would be incredible. Nobody would have thought that a running back in 2024 would have broken a Texas Tech rushing record. So that's incredible by itself, right? Like, I'm not doubting that, but it's like, I still believe it's okay to criticize legends. 2 fumbles is a lot. 1 fumble, I'd be with you. 2, yeah, Taj, come on, bro. You got to hold on to that, right? And so I do think it's okay to criticize Taj in that aspect, because Taj, you got to take care of the ball, buddy. I know you're going to beat yourself up about it. You got to take care of the ball, but he would have that chance at redemption there as we move forward. But I will say, as I mentioned, after Arizona took the lead of 19-18, we had another 3 and out, and it just felt like, to your point, Jeramey, typical Tech. We've been here before. We know what it is, right? But I'll say this is a game of momentum. This is a game of momentum. Once again, after another 3 and out, defense finds themselves back against the wall. T-Mac is now starting to kill us some more. Now Conley is starting to kill us, somebody who hadn't killed us all game. But guess what? Just like that, on the 30, defense holds firm. They force another 4th down. And Tyler Loop, who is at this point, Tyler Loop has been great for Arizona. He's been great for Arizona. You know what's funny? The guy that Jeramey's talking about that was behind us, I told him, like, man, what are you worried about? Loop always makes it. He was in warmups. He was hitting 70-yarders. Don't worry about it, man. He's going to get this. Don't even worry. He's going to get this. And then the guy told me to shut up about it. And I was like, you know what? I won't. He's incredible. He's impossible for him to miss. Yeah, it's the best. Oh, my God. He's God's gift to kicking. There's no way he can miss. He's incredible. God, actually. That's what he said. And sure enough, he misses the field goal. And I'm like, yes. It works.
I bet that's the, not to cut you off, the same kind of feeling, watching Taj fumble, right? Watching, the Arizona fans, watching him miss a field goal,
No, facts. No, seriously. Like, they're like, this never happens. And I'm like, well, Taj fumbled twice. So we're even.
We're even.
Right. So sure enough, Tech gets the ball and momentum switches. We get the ball and we finally have something positive happen with that pass to Josh Kelly. That pass to Josh Kelly was huge. Even bigger was the pass to Caleb Douglas. C-Doug had a great game this game. 32 yards going over, getting us into field goal territory, getting us somewhere. Another good pass by Morton. Good catch by Douglas, pitch and catch, getting us into field goal territory. We weren't able to convert there, but getting us back into the lead gave us – it stopped the bleeding because we'd been bleeding – like Jeramey said, death by field goal, paper cut. And we just finally were able to put a Band-Aid on it and say, let's at the very least take the lead back. And the lead looked like it may not be long, right? 2 minutes, 21 seconds. Arizona has momentum. All they need is a field goal. I still didn't feel great about it, but we have the lead in. And Joe, you mentioned it before. Jacob Rodriguez with the Superman punch. I watched that punch so many times. I watched it on loop. It was incredible. Knew he was beat. Knew he couldn't get to actually make the tackle, and said, but I see the ball. I'm going to go get the ball. Go ahead and went up, knocked it out, punched it right out while McMillan was trying to take on forward Raiders at once. Absolutely great defensive play, one of the defensive plays of the year. Wow, what a great punch out there on, in my opinion, the second best receiver in the conference.
Yeah, loaded up too, man. He was amped. I mean, he had bullseye. I mean, he hit it exactly where you need to hit it. I mean, you could see in the game multiple players on the Texas Tech defensive side try to punch balls out, especially after somebody got stood up. But this Jacob Rodriguez's punch was textbook. That's exactly how it's probably taught in practice. That's exactly what he meant to do. And he got him right in as he was turning upfield. And I mean, came out of, nowhere essentially, and then full extension, hit the ball. And, it was McMillan versus 4 Red Raiders. And then, once the ball's on the ground, you like your odds of recovering there. And Brennan Jordan was, the guy on the spot to pick that up. But yeah, there's not enough good things that you could say about Jacob Rodriguez's performance today or against Arizona on Saturday night. I mean, it's just, that goes down for probably one of the better, just straight on defensive performances of Tech players had in the last 10 years, hands down.
Ooh, wow. Last 10 years. Yeah. No, he played incredible. He absolutely played incredible. He deserves all the credit there because I think a lot of the times we'll look at players and maybe we'll see a box score, maybe we'll see a few tackles. But I do think if you don't believe us, go back and watch the game. Like he was everywhere, legitimately everywhere. And not just everywhere, but the plays that he made were loud. Sometimes with linebackers, you look at the box score like, oh, how did he get 15 tackles? That wasn't the case in this game for Jacob Rodriguez. The tackles he made were big. The sack he made was big. The pressures, the hurries he made were important. Hell, he was in that Quincy LeDay interception. He was a big reason for that, right?
Tip pass.
He had the tip. Yeah, exactly. He had the tip pass in there. So oh my goodness, he was not enough things to be. Hell, that 4th down stop, he was right there to make the to help assist with that tackle too. So he was absolutely incredible in this game. Right after that, so at this point, we're up by 2, right? But the game is a couple, waste the clock, get a first down, and we got a first down, and it was really like, okay, we can really ride this out. We can Taj with a nice 10-yard run. We got the first down now. We can kind of ride this out. They only have, I think, 1 or 2 timeouts left. We're good. Todd said, I got the plans, Playboy. 32 yards to the house. Gets over 100 yards. They can't hold him. It's Todd's time. It's winning time. It's all that. And I did find it hilarious, Jeramey, that to end the game, Arizona once again could not get a touchdown. They instead had to kick a field goal. And I was like, this is just the defense once again made a stop. I mean, Arizona only had 1 touchdown all game. all game had one touchdown. Defense was out there the entire second half, exhausted. All the high sayings you can have, only gave up one touchdown. And it wasn't even bend but don't break. Like, they were put in bent situations. They were already bent by the time they were given the ball half the time, and they just refused to break most of the time. I would argue 22 points, but it could have been 10. Like, they played an absolutely fantastic game after the terrible game they had last week. Way to bounce back for what statistically will tell you is the worst defense in the conference, but you wouldn't have been able to tell about that Arizona game.
No, I bet you Arizona fans will sing a different tune if they hear the people saying that Texas Tech is a bad defense, because if we're a bad defense, then that Arizona offense is dead. They are 0 BPM. But a fantastic end of the game. Sucks because it was so late, because a lot of people did miss that. I told my grandparents as I was on TV, and they're like, "Oh, were you really? I could only make it to 12:30." I'm like, "That's old. That's late for you. That's late for you." So they went back and watched like the recording at the end. Like, that was a crazy finish. I was like, it was a crazy finish. We had a good time. And again, like, I turned around to the guy. We made the touchdown, and it was how many seconds left? We were still in 2 minutes, but right under 2 minutes. I turned around to the guy behind me. I was like, listen to me. You can still tie this up and go to overtime. Like, this is not impossible. I've seen it happen, buddy. Don't lose faith in your team. Stay and watch. Huge win. And on that run play by Taj Brooks, huge shout. Taj Brooks is great. Huge shout out to the offensive line. Because if you go back and watch that play, if you slow it down, everyone had their assignment. And actually, unless I'm mistaken, there was a linebacker rush. They blitzed a linebacker to try to stop the run. And I don't really know who it is, but they picked up the blitz. And by the time Taj has the ball, if you like freeze frame it, there is a gap as wide as the Mississippi. And that's why he just like, oh, what is this? I've gotten the ball and I'm not getting hit in the backfield. Well, I guess I'll just take this to the house. And he was gone. It was the quickest we've ever seen Taj Brooks out of the backfield. And of course, once he gets momentum, once he gets his speed, he's not stopping. So an incredible blocking assignments done by the offensive line so late in the game. You're tired, right? You're just like, man, we got to just get this, let's run the clock out. Let's get, maybe 3 more on the board. Like, let's make it impossible for Arizona. But I mean, props to the offensive line there for making that so easy for Brooks, and even more props for the defense yet again with, like, you got to either like get it done or, just hope that they don't go for 2. They said, I'm going to hold them with 3. One last time. One last field goal for posterity. Help old Tyler Loop feel a little bit better, because he actually hit a longer one on that drive. He had a longer field goal on that drive. So Arizona fans are like, oh my God. A little bit upset with that one, but excellent end of game performance despite so much adversity before that. Truly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
on 3 turnovers. I'm sorry. The 3 touchdowns off of the 3 turnovers, that's as big as you could do. That's how you pay back your defense for getting you the ball back. So, being able to convert 3 touchdowns in those 3 times that you take away the ball, I mean, that's massive in this game. So big shout out that for the offense, rewarding the defense for, getting a takeaway.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that's interesting also is both teams scored 5 times in this game. The difference was that Tech scored touchdowns and Arizona scored field goals. Like that's really the piece there. Tech, 5 times Tech scored. 3 of them are touchdowns. 5 times that Arizona, actually, I take that back. Arizona actually scored more than that. Funny enough, they ended up scoring 6 times. There's this. I'm mistaken one of the 6 points for a touchdown. It was a field goal, 2 field goals instead. So yeah, they scored 6 times, scored more times than Tech did, and it just didn't matter. Because it kept being field goal after field goal after field goal, and simple as that is that's just not always going to get it done. So Tech with the victory, 28-21, got it done, and you can get it done if you go to Charlie Hustle. Charlie Hustle is a vintage-inspired clothing company based out of Kansas City, Missouri, home of the Kansas City Chiefs. Super Bowl championship team. Kansas City's actually playing right now as we record this Monday night, playing the Saints. If you're a Saints fan out of Louisiana, I'm sorry. That's your bad, not mine. Shout out to the Chiefs there. But not only are the Chiefs winning, but Texas Tech's winning, and Charlie Hustle's winning. I mean, you can win too if you go to the charliehustle.com. Use our promo code 101215. That's TEN1215 to get 15% off of all non-sale items. Again, that is 101215, TEN1215 to get that 15% off. Right? Charlie Hustle wants you to be the best dressed fan this season. So make sure to go to charliehustle.com. Charlie Hustle, vintage made fresh. So big win for the Red Raiders, 28-22. Let's talk about our players of the game. So defensively, I think we all agreed that Jacob Rodriguez was incredible. Hard to not say him. So you can't say Jacob Rodriguez, Joe, but you can say somebody else for a defensive player of the game.
My honorable mention would be Devin Cromwell, I believe was his name. He free safety playing for Chapman Lewis, got a lot of run, just been waiting for his turn. I think I don't know if this is year one with the team or not. Yeah, this is year one. He's a kid who came from Canada, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, making some major plays. I mean, he some big hits too. I mean, just got called upon, and he came in and did what he had to do. So Devin Cromwell for me is going to be my honorable mention player of the game, knowing that Rodriguez was the player of the game on the defense, or player of the game in general altogether.
Yeah, you picked my Canadian crudie. All right, I respect it, eh? Hey. Jeramey, who do you have your defensive player of the game?
CJ Baskerville. Seems obvious, but defensive back, I think a defensive back who just had to carry a lot of seniority on this team. And his interception, like if you haven't had the chance to go watch it again, go watch it again. See how much ground Baskerville makes up over the top and still gets his feet in and everything. That interception did a lot for this game. And I think that can't be sung well enough. He played really well all night, didn't get burnt. And so I think that a performance like that against this team, this Arizona team who was looking for those chunk plays, my player of the game, my defensive player of the game.
Marion Horn is starting to become the player that I thought he would be when we first got him at Oklahoma. He's starting to be that guy, right? Like he's had his struggles this year, no doubt, right? Abilene Christian was a rough one for him, as was Cincinnati. But this game, I thought he really played really well. Had some catches on him, but mitigated some of the gains overall. I think he's a big reason why T-Mac did struggle in the first half a bit. And then also, when they called a corner blitz, Horn was on go. He was on go, absolutely. Even was able to get a nice little tackle for loss on Conley on one of the plays there. Had a couple of hurries himself on those corner blitzes where Fafita, you cannot run a guy like Marion Horn, a track guy like that. So Marion Horn, I thought, had a really good game in this one as well. And then also a lot of tackles, making short tackles. One thing as I was thinking about Marion Horn in this game, when was the last time we had a game where we just talked about the amount of missed tackles on Tech's defense? Didn't really happen anymore. Since Tim DeRuiter's been DC. Doesn't really happen anymore.
Impressive.
That used to be the bane of our existence in the 2010s. Right? Missed tackles. Like, there's a lot of things the defense sometimes does wrong. Like we talked last week, secondary was really weak. Maybe sometimes they don't get a lot of pressure. Maybe there's certain things that we need. But guys don't miss as many tackles as they used to. I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all. Of course it happens. But, DeRuiter definitely deserves his credit for how good this defense played. And so as we switch fields to the offensive side of the ball, Jeramey, who's your offensive player of the game? And this time you can pick anybody. I have no qualifiers.
Yeah. And it seems obvious, but at the same time, it's not. Taj Brooks. Like, I think that my key to the game was we have to establish the run. And we did that very well early on. But when we got away from it because of 2 turnovers from Taj, I suspect a reason we got away from it is because Gitley was just trying to like Band-Aid and just kind of let's just let Morton take over. But when that wasn't working, he had to go back to the running game. And you know who was ready? Taj Brooks was ready, right? 2 turnovers in a game. What that does on a psyche, man, like I would have been nervous to get the ball again. I would have felt like, man, I don't want to screw this up for the team. But they put the ball in Taj's hand late game, said, let's go and win this one. And Taj says, bet I'll get another touchdown, and we'll call it kosher. So 3 touchdowns on the night, only 2. If you're turning like touchdowns and interceptions, which usually that's a conversation we have with quarterbacks, 3-2, I'll take it.
Joe, I think I know who you're going to go with, because I actually think there's only one answer here. But Joe, who you got?
Who am I going with then?
I think there's only one answer. To be honest, I really do. I think Caleb Douglas is the offensive player of the game. If you ask me, I don't think anyone is close.
Yeah, Caleb Douglas was actually a big part, and then actually having a weapon out there on the opposite side of Josh Kelly, that just starts opening things up for this offense a whole lot more. But honestly, I was going to give the whole offensive line collectively as a unit, because they got abused. Dante Corleone not discrediting what he was able to do to Sheridan Wilson up front last week. Wilson and company came back ready to play. It wasn't great at times, but they did seem to keep a clean pocket for Barron a majority of the game. And the group as a whole, and giving Taj those running spaces to make those runs that he did, especially that one that ultimately puts you over the top in this football game. I'm going to give it to our offensive line group. Caleb Douglas did great, and I can't wait to continue to watch him grow. But I think you got to give a lot of credit to the big boys up front.
Yeah. So note to self: next time I'll make sure to ask for the 5 players of the game on offense. I'm just joking.
You got to play as one.
Yeah. No, the O-line, actually, that's a really good one. I actually like that a lot. But I do think the Caleb Douglas had a great game, right? We didn't hear too much from Josh Kelly. I mean, he had 5 catches on the game, so it's not like he was silent. But C-Doug had a very, very good game. Morton had a couple throws. We talked about his pass on the sideline to Caleb Douglas for a 57-yarder. That was huge, right? But Douglas, way to catch it. Way in stride, no problems. Between 2 guys. Got to be a little bit faster. Let's do some of them track drills. But, but I think Morton made some mistakes, right? Morton, some plays he didn't hit him, so I didn't go here. Taj had the 2 fumbles, of course. But I think, to your point, the O-line was great. Caleb Douglas was great. Douglas, I think had a absolutely fantastic game, and reminded us why Florida got him in the doors in the first place, right? Sometimes we've been talking about Josh Kelly a lot this year as a stud from Washington State. Caleb Douglas is like, hold on, guys. Like I was kind of the man, all right, in Florida. So don't get it twisted. I'm here too. And there's I always tell people have been asking me about Micah Hudson. I tell people, like, Micah Hudson, the only reason why, and I tell Jeramey this actually before the game, the only reason why I think that we are so much on Hudson playing is because I think we're not giving enough credit or respect to Texas Tech as a program. Because of Micah Hudson, his top five that he had was Texas Tech, Ohio State, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. If he was at any of those other 4 schools and was not playing as much as this, would anybody be complaining? Everybody would say, oh, he's a freshman. It's only because he's at Tech, you're like, oh, well, he should be playing. Give respect. I believe give respect to the starters. Guys like Caleb Douglas, like Josh Kelly, like Coy Eakin, they're good. The reason Mike is not playing is because they're good. I feel like if Brady Boyd and Jordan Brown were playing more than Micah, then I'd be like, oh, I don't know about this, coach. And maybe I think the argument could be that maybe we should spell those 3 starters more. I think that's fair. But I would argue the only position really up for grab potentially is the H, where Dre McCray plays, but Micah doesn't play at the H. I don't want to play the H. I want to play X or Y, and that's currently predisposed. And all 3 of those guys, Josh Kelly, Caleb Douglas, Coy Eakin, not only have earned their spot, you have seen why they've earned their spot this year in general. So Mike is going to be a beast. I'm not worried about that. We saw that in the Arizona game. He's going to be a beast. We got 3 guys that right now are bigger veterans. And I think, Joe, you mentioned it earlier, Mike is starting to get his footing a little bit more, and I think we are going to see him a little bit more as the season goes on. But we got 3 really good receivers too, and Caleb Douglas in this game showed you just how good of a receiver he is.
That's all fair points. I don't have any quarrel with that. I mean, I've always thought that was the case, but a lot of people got sucked into the hype, of the he's going to be a day one starter and he's generational talent. When these words are obviously all thrown around, it's just like, okay, so why has he not seen the field? Why is he on punt return, as a gunner to go rush the punter? That's kind of weird seeing a 5-star doing that, but albeit may.
I respect it.
Right. Because he's willing to do it.
He's willing to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I respect it. Like the fact, because that's the thing is not only that, it's like, hey, can you be a gunner? Yeah, no problem. I got you. Like I'm in, coach. I'll do it. I really respect that. And we'll see. I mean, I know a lot of people are worried that, he's not getting the playing time. He's going to transfer. And listen, I can't sit here and tell you that definitely won't happen. What I will say is that he's obviously paid pretty handsomely, and his attitude on the sideline has been incredible. I mean, we watched it. We were right behind Tech sideline, and he was out here when Todd got both of his touchdowns. Micah was in on both plays. First of all, Mike actually did a really good job blocking as well in this game as a receiver position, and he was in the game. Hitting up him and Todd, got a nice little handshake going. Him giving Todd props. Him in every offensive huddle before they go on the thing, he's there, ready. Him and Hammond, ready, listening, seeing what's going on, right? Like they are. I do think. I think if that was to happen, I'm not. Maybe unless the coaching staff lied to him and said you're definitely playing. Other than that, everything seems great on that side of things. Just give respect to the program and the guys that are in front of him because they're good. Now, if this was last year and he was on the team, I'd be saying, what the hell? But this year, this receiving core is good.
Yeah. He just signed another NIL deal with the local Lubbock business. So, I don't really think
money's good.
You know what I'm saying? I think he'll be fine.
The money's good.
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, real quick before we get out of here, let's take a look around the topsy-turvy Big 12. Starting off with Friday. So here's one thing where stats lie. So again, Texas Tech is the worst defense in the conference by points, apparently. Do you know who a top 5 defense is by points? Houston. And the Houston Cougars, otherwise known as the worst team in the conference, went into Fort Worth and whooped up on TCU. So what does that make TCU now, Joe? Possibly the worst team in the conference. Houston 30-19. Joe, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, as we all predicted it, that game was going to be another Houston beatdown, and it ultimately turned out not to be that way. So I was very shocked, but not very shocked, and it was crazy to see the picture of the stadium, after that first half. I mean, it was barren in there. I mean, there is nobody there in Fort Worth wanting to remain and watch that game. So a lot of things about to take place in TCU. We see them in a couple of weeks out there in Fort Worth. Well, we'll probably feel that, Ammon Carter Stadium more than they will. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, not a good look for TCU. That's for damn sure.
No, not at all. Jeramey's boy did get benched, Donovan Smith. Zion Chris came in, and he was a big reason why Houston won this game. I don't think we'll see Donovan Smith too much. Sorry, Jay. Sorry.
It's all right, man. Live long enough, your heroes become the villain. It's okay.
Baylor went into Ames, Iowa, and they got whooped. I mean, I mentioned how Iowa State doesn't really – I can't remember who said that Iowa State was going to put up a bunch of points. And I made a mention that they don't put points up against nobody. They don't put up points against anybody unless you're Dave Aranda, apparently. They put up points. I will say, shout out to Baylor fans. I saw a tweet that said they can't fire Dave Aranda. They're going to lose the recruiting class. And, man, I hope y'all keep this energy every year. That's great. Every year you can't fire Dave Aranda because of the recruiting class. Yes. Yeah, keep it going. This reminds me of when we had Cliff, and every year there was a reason of, well, it's not really his fault. I'm like, yep. Now they have their own version of that. I love it. 43-21. Jeramey, what do you think about that game?
Nothing to think. Iowa State. That's it.
You think they're the best? You think they're the best team in the conference?
No, they're only 2-0 in conference, so we are the best team in conference.
Facts. True
Facts.
story.
That is
True
facts.
story.
That is true.
Hey, I'm just following the numbers, baby.
Yeah.
But no, Iowa State is a very strong team. Very strong team.
Yep. Now ranked 11th in the AP poll. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I mentioned to Jeramey earlier that I thought after Brock Purdy and that whole group left, I didn't think they'd go back to being backs. I've always had respect for Matt Campbell, but I was like, okay, now they can go back to like being meh. And for a few years they were that, but now they're now they're back. Rocco Becht was one of the highest rated quarterbacks in Iowa State history, so that'll do it. Good game there. So, anyways, West Virginia walked into Stillwater and gave them a beat down where fans were asking for Alan Bowman to get a ticket to his first flight out of Stillwater midway through the first quarter. So that'll do it. Joe, what do you think about West Virginia beating the brakes off of the Cowboys?
Yeah, the Big 12 not quite like what we seemed, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Iowa. Well, maybe not so much Iowa State because they're undefeated right now. But, these teams, these upper echelon teams, Utah, these guys are going to be the top of the Big 12 moving forward. And, there's just, every Saturday's a little bit different. Kansas State rolled into Provo and got their tails kicked. And then West Virginia marches into Stillwater and, kicks around a 76-year-old quarterback and, everything just fell apart there. So I honestly think if Alan Bowman has another crappy game, he's not starting anymore this year unless there's an injury. I think he's going to get the hook.
For who, though? The problem that Oklahoma State has is they have no good quarterbacks. Remember, Alan Bowman only started because they didn't have other options. So, like Garrett Rangel. Now, Garrett Rangel did get in the game and did look better. But I don't know how good he is either. So, we'll see there. UCF at Florida. Jeramey, we thought UCF would actually be able to put up a fight. Florida seems like they're starting to get certain things figured out. They did beat UCF in this game. Is this more of Florida maybe better than they showed at the beginning of the year, or is it UCF not that good?
I think UCF just had kind of a collapse in the second quarter and allowed Florida to get up so much. The defense actually clamps down in the second half. Florida doesn't see the end zone or a field goal after the halftime, but UCF's not putting anything together offensively, which is the real shock for us to think that, UCF's got some tools, but not being able to put anything together, man. They 13 points. They are disappointed in Orlando, and there's something else cooking because they got a lot of guys starting to decommit.
That kicker, very intriguing. Right? Didn't he just their star kicker just pulled out just like the guy from UNLV. He just put the I'm transferring, I'm sitting out so for the rest of the season. So
yeah,
something's happening in Orlando. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so finishing up, there were two probable games of the week based on what happened. One of them, of course, being in Tucson, Texas Tech and Arizona. The other one was in Tempe, Kansas at Arizona State. Thriller that happened there. Sam Leavitt, 4 touchdowns in this game, brought his team back. 35 total points were scored in the fourth quarter. What a game that this was. A game that shot Kansas up 17-14 at the end of the third, ended with Arizona State winning 35-31. Crazy game, Joe.
Very crazy, but all three of us called it. Kansas showed some fight. They haven't actually kind of showed this kind of football game all season, to where, this was probably their best game all year, and they still came out losing that game. So it's kind of Kansas is just in a rough spot right now. Whenever they were picked, top 5 in the Big 12 preseason, and they just can't seem to get right. In Arizona State, much credit to them getting their first Big 12 win at home against a Kansas team that was reeling. And I think that's it for Kansas. I don't know what else they could do to get to right their ship, but they're going to be really fighting to try and even make a bowl berth this year. So much credit to Arizona State, Scatterboo Leavitt as a redshirt freshman. I mean, that's as big as a moment he's ever been in as a quarterback, and he stood up to the test. Good game.
make a bowl game. They got to go 5-1 to even get to a bowl. To get to the freaking Tortillas and Takes Bowl, they got to go 5-1. All right. I mean,
then they got Lowry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. To go to that, they got to go 5-1, and they got games at Kansas State, against Iowa State, and at BYU, and against Colorado, all still left on the schedule. Yeah, it ain't happening, Chief. I don't see that happening. And I will say, here's the thing about Kansas. Kansas, their losses: 6-point loss to Illinois, 3-point loss to UNLV, 4-point loss to West Virginia, 9-point loss to TCU, and now a 4-point loss to Arizona State. They have had a win probability over 65% in every single game they've had this year. That is wild, right? They don't know how to win. The crazy thing about it is they don't know how to win, but it's a veteran team. They have a lot of that's the whole reason why people picked them to do well this year was because they brought everybody back, including a guy that some people thought might even be a Heisman contender, and Jalen Daniels, right? And none of it's mattered. Kansas has had a lot of bad seasons. This might be the worst just because of what they thought was going to happen, right? Like, it's easy to go 1-11 when you expect to go 1-11. It's much tougher to start a season 1-5 when you thought at this point you'd be 5-1. Because I know for Kansas, a lot of Kansas fans thought this was supposed to be the easy part of the schedule. That's not the problem. This was where they were like, okay, we just have TCU, Arizona State, Houston. Like, we'll be able to do that. UNLV, Illinois, we'll be able to do that. And they're 1-5. I don't think they would have ever been able to imagine that. So, but nobody cares about those games. Anyone ever cared about was Texas Tech at Arizona. Texas Tech wins the game 28-22. Joe, anything else you want to say to the people?
No, nothing. A great weekend of sports. Even though I stayed up till about 2:00 in the morning watching this football game, was worth every bit of sleep that I didn't get. And much credit to Texas Tech. I called it. I said this was the game that Coach McGuire, turned it around on the road. My biggest key to the game was the third down stops. I think they went 3 for 14 on the game as well. So, I mean, a lot of things that needed to happen. Defense stood up, third down conversions, and then Coach McGuire getting that big one on the road, taking us into the bye week 5-1. And, things are feeling pretty good out here in Raiderland.
Jeramey, anything else you got?
Best week of the year. Bye week.
Bye week. Can't lose. Can't lose during the bye week. Unless you're a speed racer in Athens, Georgia. Only thing I got left to say is two things that I find satisfyingly funny. One being, if you look up the team stats from this game, you'd say, how the hell did Texas Tech win? It's actually hilarious. It's very funny. Arizona State had almost 100 more total yards, way more pass completions. We fumbled the ball twice. Their time of possession, 15 minutes more. Right? Like, you would have thought there's no way. I mean, Joe mentioned 3 for 14 on third down. We were 2 for 11. Right? Like, you would think there's no way that the Texas Tech won this game, yet we did. Not only did we win this game, we were winning for most of the game. Like, that's kind of the crazy part there. So that's one. And then two, Jerry mentioned it. We're statistically the best team in the Big 12. Right now, stop the count, we would be going to the college football playoff.
That's right.
So that is pretty insane. Though we're 5-1, 3-0 in the Big 12, only 7 AP votes. I know some Tech fans are pretty upset about that. I, for one, am not. Let's just keep us under the radar a little bit. Also, I still don't really know if we are truly a top 25 team. I still don't really know if we're one of the 25 best teams in the conference. I also don't care. Like, with the new college football playoff, the AP poll still matters, or not the AP poll, the CFP poll, still matters, because eventually you want to try to get out a large bid and yada, yada, yada. But like, the great thing about the new college football playoff is, technically, if you want to get in, just win.
Just win.
It takes everything out of everybody's hand. Win and you're in. Here's the thing, and I was mentioning this to Jeramey. We're now 5-1. If we finish out the rest of the season 5-1, right? And so I'm not even saying going undefeated. I'm saying if we finish out the rest of the season 5-1, we're in the Big 12 championship game. We're in. It's not a question. We finish out the season 4-2, still a shot at it. It's shot. Joe predicted 10-2 at the beginning of the season. As we sit right now, we are more likely to be 10-2 than we are to be 7-5, which was my prediction. That is nuts. That is nuts.
They called me crazy.
I still call me crazy. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many games are we going to be favored in the rest of the season?
That's a good question.
Most of them.
I'd say
the next two games, we have a bye week, and then we're playing TCU. We're playing Baylor and TCU. One's a home game, and one, Joe mentioned it, it'll be a de facto home game. It's not going at the very least, it won't be home field advantage for TCU. I'll tell you that much. So there's a now the Big 12's crazy. I'm not going to act like there's a guarantee we're going to win both those games. You never know. Houston won a game, but it is all right there. It is outside of one game, like Jeramey said, good chance we'll be favored in every game going forward. We were underdogs against Arizona in that Arizona game. We were underdogs, which I think for the first time this year. I think it's the first game we've had this year where we were underdogs. I'm pretty sure we were the favorites at Washington State. So that's nuts. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Fun time to be a Red Raider. Fun time to be a Red Raider indeed. So please don't 2013 us, Joey. I beg of you. With that being said, for the Red Raider expert himself, that is Joe Lopez. For the People's Champ, Jeramey Gillen. This is your boy, Albie Shore. And you have been listening to the Tortillas and Takes podcast, part of the 1012 Network. As always, stay right, people.